Since I don't work out on the weekends and I had a very indulgent few days, I am ready to hit the ground running.
I got a lot to say about this one. Hey everyone, I'm Abbey Sharp. Welcome to Abby's Kitchen. In today's video, we'll be catching up with Jenn and taking a look at what she eats in a week. In case you guys missed it, I reviewed one of Jenn's videos on how she lost 20 pounds a little over a year ago, but I've always enjoyed her approach to cooking and her recipes. So I thought we would pop back in to see what she eats in a week while training. A quick reminder that what I eat in a day should never be used as prescription for what to eat to look a certain way. So the videos themselves, and of course my commentary on them, should solely be used as inspiration and education on how to build out balanced meals and snacks. Also, if you are not already, I would love if you would check out my new podcast, Bite Back with Abbey Sharp, and also subscribe to my content here on YouTube. There's obviously a ton of uncertainty in the content creation world, and if you guys enjoy my content, I would really appreciate your support. Okay, before we dive in, let's take a moment to talk about today's sponsor, Element. So I actually discovered Element through some of my fellow sports dietitian friends who really could not stop raving about it. It's like their go-to. And what sets Element apart is its science-driven electrolyte balance. 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. Plus, it's completely free of added sugar, color, or any unnecessary filler. Now, in case you don't know, electrolytes play a really crucial role in so many bodily functions. It regulates nerve signals, hormone balance, nutrient absorption, and it also keeps our fluids in check. And Element has really been a huge staple in my routine for years. It definitely helped me power through breastfeeding, to intense summer tennis sessions, to long travel days, hangovers, and like everything in between. And lately, it has been a huge lifesaver while I've been managing dehydration from one of my medications. And my doctor even recommended upping my electrolytes every day. Now, as for flavors, the mango chili is probably like my ride or die favorite year round, but with 8 delicious options, there's always something to switch it up. Right now, Element is offering my viewers a free sample pack with any order. So that's 8 single serving packets, totally free. That way you can try every flavor, or you can share them with a salty friend. Plus, Element has a no questions asked refund policy on all orders, so there's zero risk if it's not for you. So to grab yours, check out drinkelement.com/AbbeySharp. And you gotta use my exclusive link, so go to drinklmnt.com/AbbeySharp. All right, folks, let's hop in. So the theme of this week of eating for Jenn is that she is working out using her TrainWell app, so she obviously needs to support her training with adequate fuel. Now, one thing I can confidently say is that Jenn's diet does offer a nice balance of nutritious staples and also different flavors, condiments, and preparations to kind of keep things fun and interesting. So let's start by taking a look at her breakfasts. Generally, Jenn builds her breakfast around eggs as her protein of choice, but then she kind of switches up how they're served and their accompaniments to keep it interesting. And I see a lot of kind of hunger crushing combo inspirations here, with fiber and carbs coming from the fruit, granola, veggies, bread, rice. And I also love that she uses my kind of egg hack of mixing cottage cheese into her eggs before cooking, just to add some extra protein and also stretch that portion of egg. It's clear that Jenn enjoys variety in her breakfast, from more sweet options like her yogurt parfait topped with strawberries and granola, to more savory dishes like her big brekkie bowl with rice, broccoli, radish kimchi, and furikake. And most of the ingredients she's using are highly accessible, but also culturally significant. So for example, on one day, Jenn adds something called mugwort powder to her yogurt, which is actually a medicinal herb used in many traditional Asian and European dishes, basically for its anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial properties. But it also adds this like beautiful green color. It's got like a slightly bitter taste and just like a floral fragrance that really does complement a lot of dishes. Now, not unlike any other superfood out there, you will see claims online online about mugwort being able to miraculously cure cancer or reverse infertility or like eliminate menstrual cramps and, you know, PMS and all that. And not surprisingly, we don't have evidence to support that. But if Jenn likes the taste and the little boost of nutrients it provides, then I love the addition. Another thing I love about Jenn's eating is that she's not afraid of carbs here. In fact, at one point she mentions that she actually switched to whole wheat wraps after being kind of put off by the low carb tortillas out there.
I was using those like low carb tortillas. I started to question like, what exactly am I putting in my body? Like, how is this only like 3 net carbs?
So first of all, I want to make it super duper clear that there is nothing toxic or dangerous about low carb tortillas, even if they do have more kind of hard to pronounce ingredients and perhaps more processing than whole grain. But to answer her question, low carb tortillas are typically made with ingredients like modified wheat starch or grain-based fibers, which aren't digested like typical bread carbohydrates and therefore don't raise blood sugars. So manufacturers can then kind of subtract the fiber and any sugar alcohols from the total carbohydrates in the product to yield this term called net carbs. Some also will need to use wheat gluten, which is the protein that gives bread its like stretch without the carb components of wheat, plus some emulsifiers like guar gum and artificial sweeteners. Now, I just want to say that all of these ingredients are absolutely safe. However, in excess, a lot of these additives can cause digestive stress in sensitive folks. So for example, this wrap has a whopping 28 grams of fiber per tortilla. That is actually more fiber than most North Americans get in an entire day. So most people may feel very gassy, bloated, and distended after eating that. Ditto for wheat gluten, gluten intolerant under normal eating circumstances. Having a mother load of like isolated gluten can trigger a lot of people. So if you want a low carb tortilla, no problem, but I would look for one with less than 10 grams of fiber per serving just to cut back on these symptoms, or start with very small pieces of it and then kind of work your way up. But for an active woman like Jenn, the whole wheat or whole grain option makes a ton more sense. And actually for the vast majority of people, I do encourage at least some carbs at breakfast, especially because research shows that we're actually best able to utilize those carbs in the morning when our bodies are more insulin sensitive. So if you like white rice or white bread over whole grain, I wouldn't sweat it or like say it's like bad or toxic or junk. I would just dress up those naked carbs with protein, fiber, and fat, as Jenn does, to really help stabilize blood sugars and energy levels and to improve satiety. Okay. Breakfast is over. This is usually the time in the day when Jenn does her workout. So that means in most cases, her breakfast is kind of doing double duty as a pre-workout and her lunch is kind of filling in for her post-workout. And based on what I can see here, lunch is generally kind of her lightest meal of the day. And actually in some cases when she does like have a later breakfast or like a brunch meal, she actually doesn't have lunch at all. And this might be fine to do on occasion when your day starts super late and you are able to combine the caloric equivalent of 2 meals into one. But in Jenn's case, like for Friday, for example, her breakfast was likely max 400 calories if we are being generous. And then her dinner, which is really the only other meal she had, was maybe 500, 600 max. If Jenn were my client, I would definitely be concerned about calorie deficiency, especially on these days when she is working out. Not getting enough protein may also be a challenge on days like this as well, because, you know, I'm usually seeing like 15 to 20 grams of protein at Jenn's breakfast, which means if you skip lunch, you have like a lot of protein to try to make up for to meet your base needs. So this is where a super simple snack like a protein shake with a banana in it and some protein powder or some Greek yogurt or cottage cheese with some berries would be just like a really easy snack to just fit in the day. And if that doesn't work out before dinner, then perhaps having it as like a bedtime snack afterwards, just to make sure those overall nutrient needs are met in the day. But for the lunch meal she does have, I do love that Jenn keeps it creative and resourceful, often kind of transforming leftovers into fun, easy new meals. So for example, turning her chicken soup from earlier in the week into a minestrone-inspired dish with marinara and Parmesan is a really clever way to keep things interesting while reducing food waste. I also love how she embraces like the no judgment zone for her meals, like her marinara tofu, for example, because real people in real life don't make sure that every meal that they eat looks like it came out of like a hardcover cookbook. Real people in real life also don't necessarily have time to cook every single meal from scratch, even if they're making a YouTube video about it. So for example, midweek, Jenn opted for this kind of Chinese chicken salad, which offered a really nice balance of protein, fiber, and healthy fats. So takeout and convenience foods doesn't necessarily mean you're eating quote unquote junk. Okay, now let's get into dinner. So Jenn's meal planning approach is kind of similar to mine, where you basically pick one meal component to put your time into preparing, and then you take like a few shortcuts with the other components. So for example, she often uses like rotisserie chicken and silken tofu, which require very little prep, and then she uses those as the base for flavorful soups and stews. Or she maybe cooks salmon for her protein, but then keeps the rest of the meal super simple with some like steamed broccoli and steamed rice. And again, we all need some time off in the week from cooking. So I love this little chicken plate here. It looks super delicious, satiating, and we got a combination of chicken for protein, pita for carbs, salad for fiber, and the hummus for healthy fats. And that hummus looks damn smooth. So let's unpack a few kind of overall thoughts here. First of all, I generally didn't get the vibe from Jenn that any of her choices were grounded in deprivation or punishment or denial. You know, she seems to have a good sense of what feels good to her body, especially when it comes to movement and rest.
Since I don't work out on the weekends, by the start of the week, I am ready to hit the ground running. And I had a very indulgent few days, so I'm ready to just get my body moving.
Rest is so important and unfortunately like very underrated in our society, but it's important not just like physically, but also for helping to preserve a healthy relationship with movement. Because when you are not like grinding yourself into the ground doing exercise that, you know, is excessive or that you don't even like, you actually might crave exercise and want to move your body because it inherently feels good. And even though at the beginning she did mention kind of having an indulgent weekend, it didn't seem like she was using exercise to make up for it. But rather, it seemed like maybe she was feeling a little bit sluggish and slow after doing more eating than moving on the weekend, and her body was just kind of craving some of that activity. I don't know, I also crave a good walk instinctually after a big kind of heavy carb meal, probably because my body knows that it helps to stabilize my blood sugars and also improve digestion. And that is all part of intuition and learning what feels good to your body. So it's very nice to see Jenn demonstrating this flexibility, self-awareness, and body respect. Now, my big feedback, however, is that because Jenn doesn't seem to have any snacks in her day, and in some cases only is having 2 meals, she is very likely under fueling. So based on our very crude calculations, her intake probably varied from around 900 calories at the lowest to 1400 calories per day. So even at that higher end, it's still pretty low, even for someone who is like sitting on their butt all day, never mind for someone who is active and working out. And like I said, it didn't seem like Jenn was intentionally cutting calories. I didn't hear any kind of like moralizing language around food or strict food rules. I'm not eating this is bad, whatever. And her meal prep didn't like run her life, which we love. But because of the risk to hormonal health, bones, muscle mass, and injury while training, I would absolutely just try to be more intentional about adding in those calories. So this would mean not skipping meals, even if you do get really busy, and I know it's hard as a mom, but also adding in maybe an extra snack or 2 with a combination of protein and higher fiber carbs. And on that note, that is all that I have for you guys today. If you like this video, I would love if you would give it the thumbs up. Also, leave me a comment below on who or what you would like to see me review next. And I will see you next time on Abby's Kitchen. Bye!